Hey, it's Nicholas with the Backyard TARDIS here with another review recap of Mandalorian Season 3. Yes, I know I'm going at it months behind. If you've seen how I've been doing these reviews, I've been doing them just a little bit at a time and one or two episodes at a time. This time we're going to be looking at episode 20, The Foundling, first. And this is an episode just kind of recapping a little bit. I've been very mixed. There's some of this season that I like, some that I really don't like. There's been a lot of discussion on it. I think I have some unique points on some of it, and even some points on stuff I didn't like that I haven't really heard other people bring up. So I'm going to kind of just go over those things. Overall, this was an episode I saw get made fun of a lot, but it's an episode that I liked and I count as one of the better episodes. So we open up this thing, we see all the Mandalorians, they're, training, helping each other out, and we see Grogu, Din place Grogu against Ragnar, so Paz Vizsla's son, and the one that we saw get baptized in the other episode. And he, at first it's like, are you kidding? And boom, like, yeah. And he's like, no, Grogu, your way. Listen. And so then he does like the episode 2 Yoda thing where he's like doing flips over him. Now the funny thing is in episode 2 they took something that was a Muppet, now he's a CGI character, and they're like, let's just go wild with it. I remember in the theater, like, everybody cheered for that. That was like probably the highlight moment of episode 2 for me. I don't like episode 2, but that was a moment I liked. However, later on when I got to think about it, I was like, I don't know if I like that Yoda does that. It feels very un-Yoda-like. That was weird, I think. As goofy as it looks, I have an appreciation that they did it with the practical Muppet. They've got the Muppet doing the somersaults and stuff, which is just funny because that's really what it's like when you see that stuff in the CGI, and then you try to think about that Muppet from Return of the Jedi and Empire Strikes Back. Could you imagine that Muppet doing those flips? It would look so goofy and silly. With CGI or in the Clone Wars cartoon, it works. So I just thought it was funny because that, and so while I do get how you can critique it a little bit, like if they'd had the budget to CGI him doing that, probably would have looked a lot better. But this is a Star Wars TV show, and there's something to be said about keeping the continuity of, like, this is a Muppet character, but yet saying it can do all the stuff that CGI Yoda can do. So I enjoy this, but then his win can't be celebrated long because out comes some Shreehawks, and it picks up Ragnar and takes off with him. Now, first off, Shreehawks. I mean, we had the Mythosaur in the last one, and we got the Shreehawks. So we're getting basically all the mythical, legendary beasts of Mandalore from the EU are showing up in this show, and that's just amazing. This is the kind of things that you read as a kid, saw a little bit in comic books and stuff, but like these were kind of like the stuff of legends. And this is like when like a bunch of the Mandalorians have Shreehawks symbols on their armor and stuff like that. So like to see that like that is really cool. Now the Mandalorians go after it, and their rocket power peters out. They can't follow it. There's some inconsistency here, because it also shows in this show that they can go from the ground to space. We have seen in the cartoons that they can go great distances, fly between spaceships. They just use it liberally, rocket power all the time. So the idea that they couldn't follow a creature a couple of miles, that seems kind of weak. However, I will put it this way. I don't care. That's something that, like, if I want to be nitpicky about the show, I can, but that's also something that's very Star Wars. Because let's face it, lightsabers, the idea that they hold a solid thing that two blades can go, ignited plasma can't do that. The fact that if they were a laser, they would just go on indefinitely. They wouldn't just stop at a certain length. So that's why we say the plasma, but then a plasma sword wouldn't have physical matter like that. but it's Star Wars. We just accept it. They're cool, right? So the same thing with something like the way the space battles take place in Star Wars. They wouldn't take place like that. That is all based on in-gravity physics, based on the model of a World War II movie. It's cool, it's fun, it's action. If you were to try to focus on it and go, no, that doesn't make logical sense. So likewise, there are certain things where like sometimes, oh, it's going to take us a week to get there, and then in the next movie or whatever, like they cross half the galaxy in what seems like an hour. So, there's constant inconsistencies like that in Star Wars. And, well, that's kind of a cop-out answer. I wouldn't be overly critical about it. If the show is fun, you don't think about it. Now, I do think that there are things in the season that make people critical. So people are already looking at it with a critical eye. So they're going to see something like that, and they're going to say something. But that's like... bring up The Last Jedi. I don't like The Last Jedi. I really don't like The Last Jedi. The whole dropping bombs thing, and that's not how gravity works in space. Once again, I don't think anybody would have had that nitpick if all the stuff with Luke that makes him upset didn't happen. That scene would not bother a single person because Star Wars has never been scientifically accurate in that. It's a space fantasy. They're having an adventure out in space. So, yeah, that's that. But now we have this situation where Bo-Katan comes back. They put the party together. They go out there. Then they camp down at the bottom and all that. And everyone's going, this kid's dead by now. Well, they've talked about this has happened before. So apparently this species has a pocket or something in their throat where they store this food they get up. We do have animals that do that. Now, usually there's either something digesting them, and typically they kill them. But we do have, you have pelicans that have live fish in their gullets. We have different birds and different animals that have extra stomachs, places stuff is stored that they then cough up and give to kids, to their young. Now, typically, those things become dead, but this is Star Wars, this is space, so we're going to assume that this is part of the natural thing, that this thing holds on to them for a few days, and then when the kids need food, then they regurgitate them up. But they take any opportunity they have to get food to put it in that gullet to save. We got to assume that. Now, it's a little bit convenience. They get there there's a little bit of convenience here. It's a little bit too tidy. But then you have Paz visit. It's his son. He gets over here. He goes up, spooks the Shriak, and it just picks him up and takes him off once again. And they all go up, but this time they're grappling to him. And we see Paz isn't able to hold on, and he's just whoa. But Bo and Din go at it, and what I love about this is they equally get their time to shine. This is so important, so important. They equally get their time to shine, and I think it shows that even though they come from two completely different Mandalorian philosophies, they both have such a sense of honor and duty and responsibility to help in this situation. And I think that partly is what helps the armorer see that they need to unite. Because even though, philosophies about some of the old ways, some of that, but when it comes down to it, their sense of honor among Mandalorians is the same. And that's a big important. They are more alike than they are different. And that really shows in that battle where you see these two different parties from two different ways of thinking, and they're both just doing everything they can to save this child. Go back a little bit. We saw when they're doing the fire, the moment we got to see Bo-Katan go, what do you do to eat? Because we've seen him, soup underneath the lip of the thing. But you're not having barbecue that way. And so what do? Well, they all go off on their own. Because she's leading the party, she gets the honor of being by the fire so that she can take her helmet off, and we can get that actress face in there, the money shot. Notice that I don't think we get to see Mando's face it all this season, which is funny because we had all the rumors the last season that he was demanding more appearance, and right now all the rumors are is that they hate him on set, and now he's not even showing up to set at all. He's just doing it all in a booth. It's interesting. It's interesting. Of course, I take all those rumors with a grain of salt. People get this from people on the production, but in all honesty, the Teamsters and different people, they don't really know what's going on. They're there, they hear this, they hear that. They're getting gossip from other people inside. Some of it's true, some of it's not. That's just what it is. So, after they do that, we see the crocodile come up and get that tree hawk. Boom. Makes you think there's always a bigger fish. But, the tree hawk. Now, it is a bit Muppety, but I don't mind that. Star Wars is Muppety. I love the practical effects. And I would say the babies, I don't know, maybe they're CGI, but there's something about them felt like they were Muppets. And I kind of love that. And of course, they go and they take the babies. They're going to do that. Now, Mandalorians in the Legends ride on these things. So I see this setting up. Okay, in a couple of seasons, we are going to see them coming in, hate to say this, Avatar style. They come in flying on these things. And it's going to be a really cool moment. Because I think season 4, we are going to see Mando going off and doing his own thing. And maybe there'll be a season 5, or maybe this will be in the movie. But I feel like we are going to see the big battle with Thrawn, I think, is going to be on Mandalore. And it's going to be Thrawn, so that's going to bring in Ahsoka and the Rebels crew. I think it's going to bring in... Mando's going to pull on Karga, which may somehow bring in the pirates. Don't know yet, but somehow that's supposed to tie into all this. And Boba Fett. I think Mando is going to call in the favor with Boba Fett, and we are going to see a bunch of those bounty hunters. We're going to see Black Chrysanthemum. We're going to see Fennec Shan and Boba all show up to fight that. Hopefully, he leaves the mod squad to take care of the castle there on Tatooine, so they don't show up in the movie. Oh, that would... If I knew they were going to be in the movie, that would just kill all interest I'd have in that movie. Oh, why did I talk about them? Oh, yeah. So, now we come to the end, and we see the armor. She's doing a couple of things. She makes a new piece for Grogu. I saw a lot of people give, flack for this, because it was like a chess piece, but he's like, oh, he's already got chainmail. And it's like, have you not seen Ancient Knights? They had all the armor, but then the chainmail was to guard all the in-between stuff. But it's not strong enough to prevent full-on attacks to the chest. It's it's built though so that it's the extra layer, and then you put the big huge chunk of armor over the most important stuff. That's how armor works. That's how chainmail works. And then so I was like, I don't see why everybody's upset about this just because he didn't make him a helmet. Also, notice that piece is like a shoulder pad. So eventually, when he gets bigger, that's probably he's going to grow into that being his shoulder pad. So I really like that kind of idea. Hey, future Nicholas here, just cutting in for a moment because I completely forgot to talk about a really pivotal point of this that was just a really nice touch. For everything I can say positively or negatively about these episodes, I really like this. So Ahmed Best, he got a really bad rap way he was treated by fans and the press during the prequels. And I think it was the press that really got to him, because this is before social media was a big thing. But the press, just Jar Jar Binks was the whipping boy of every late night morning talk show. They all made fun of him. Reviewers made fun of him, to the point that the actor who played him, and it wasn't so much that they had a problem with the character, but they talked about how it was racist, and and they also put that on the actor, oh, the fact that you performed that way and you did that walk and you did that voice, you're contributing to that. And of course, he's a black man, but he's not from that area of the world. And the fact that like people took it that way really troubled him to the point like he was on a bridge ready to commit suicide, to jump off. And to have him come back now, he has a character called Kelleran Beck, Jedi Kelleran Beck, who hosted the Jedi Temple challenge, which was kind of just like a kind of like Nickelodeon style game show thing for kids, like the old Hidden Temple Challenge game show. But really, it like the lore of it is he's a almost like he works with the younglings, like the preschool level younglings and stuff. The younger kids, grade school probably more, but and so that's his job. So there's been this long thing. How did Grogu out? How did Grogu out? Now my theory was he didn't. The Empire got him, and then when they sent Mando on that mission, it was because somebody stole him from the Empire. But maybe that the Empire had him on ice all those years, frozen in carbonite or something, Well, no, he was saved by Jedi Kelleran Beck. So really, giving that honor to this actor, making like this little spin-off show, that was a nice thing to give. But like really, like let's bring you in, let's give you a character that fans can get behind. People. Since you went through all of that, he became like the focus of the hate on the prequels. To see him get that is just kind of really touching and was a really big thing. Having that versus just someone who might have been like, oh, Mace Windu survived, or let's show Plo Koon, or let's like what Jedi was there. Let's show Yoda sneaking him away when he gets out. People had all sorts of theories that are like, oh, maybe it was the historian at the Jedi Temple Archives. Maybe it was this person, that person. This had more real world meaning versus like in-universe lore meaning. Like it wasn't as big of like a fan like, oh, but it had an emotional impact because as fans you resonate with the real world actor. Also, it makes sense because his specific character that he plays in the Jedi Temple Challenge is somebody who trains the younglings. So this is going to be somebody who has a special relationship with Grogu. So for him to put his life on the line for that and to do that, and then of course having him go out to a Naboo ship to get him off planet, some people think that that's possibly, since we know that Queen Amidala was somewhere else, or Senator Amidala, that had to be, Jar Jar's, official ship there for him as a senator. So, once again, adding to his character. So I just think that just has such an amazing impact. And so, and this is all through a flashback while Grogu is watching his stuff be made by the armorer, and then she's coming in and she's having a heart-to-heart, talking to him as a foundling, bringing in already from youth, teaching him that Mandalorian spiritual thinking was a good moment, and then have him contrast that back as it's pulling his mind back to a bad Jedi memory. So I think that was, and he split between those paths. And I think that is a really good representation there of that struggle of someone who's, grows up in a religiously divided household. We see that with Grogu. He's, wants Mando as his dad, but he's also been raised as a Jedi, and they have two different philosophies. And I think it was a perfect spot for that. And so I definitely, just like they interjected that flashback, I had to jump in and interject this into the video. Okay, back to me from the past. But then we saw Bo-Katan, and she's getting her shoulder pad got damaged, so they're going to make her a new shoulder pad. And they go, oh, you want it just like you had it before, the Night Owl or whatever? And she's like, no, would it be okay if I did the Mythosaur? The armor's like, the Mythosaur belongs to all of us. He says, because I saw one. What? You just kind of come out there and say that, and the armor, at first, like, it's like, is she just going, yeah, sure, you'll, she's like, if you walk the path of a Mandalorian, you'll see many things. As a minister, you learn really quick not to discredit what people say in their faith, even when sometimes you may not fully believe it. We have people, they will talk about experiences where they felt like they had a guardian angel or something like that, and they talk about how this moves, and it's like, you might go, well, no, that's not how the scriptures and this stuff work, but you kind of have to hold your tongue because, one, you don't fully know, and two, you don't want to crumble someone's faith, that they're building their faith on this experience, and then you take it apart and say, no, that's not how the scriptures say it works. That can do it. And it's kind of the same thing when it comes to like demons and stuff like that. When people bring up the things they have, the moment you open the door to a conversation about that, like all of a sudden, all these people have like their experience with a ghost or what, and it's like, oh, and because there's a certain level of certain things, I 100% believe in, and other things it's kind of like, and people start telling their stories, and sometimes we spook ourselves. So it's just kind of interesting how, like, as a minister, I've been in that situation where you're like, yeah, well, in service to God, you'll experience a lot of things, but constantly trust in God. An answer like that is kind of the answer you give when you're not trying to crush, or because who are you to say that they're not right, but at the same time, you're not going to go put them up in front of the congregation and say, look at this person that had this experience, because it's kind of like, maybe. And so I kind of feel like at this point, that is how the armor is like, oh, you saw the mythosaur or something. But she is contemplating how that goes at. So, really good there. And so next one, we see episode 21, or chapter 21, The Pirate. So let's just talk about the pirate for a little bit. This was the Salad the Hut meme, because yes, he very much does look like a salad, a green version of Pizza the Hut from Spaceballs. So that is not lost on me at all. I think that is more an inside joke of the team doing that on purpose. He also very much looks like a character from another Disney property, the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Davy Jones character with a weird beard and all that. So this is, the pirates are a little bit on the nose, but there's stuff like that in Star Wars all the time. When you've got, when you think of Cobb Vanth on there and he's like that, or Cad Bane. Like, Cad Bane is totally like, he's got the cowboy hat, he has the thing in his mouth, and and he's a sharpshooter, and he is totally a classic Western desperado. So this is not new to Star Wars to do this. This is not how the pirates were kind of done before with Hondo and stuff. However, but I do kind of enjoy the fact that, like, his ship is steered by a wheel, kind of like a pirate ship, but it's a spaceship. It is not like some flying pirate ship. It is a spaceship. But the helm is not some thing of buttons and shifters and stuff like that. Like, Han Solo is kind of like your hot rod kind of rider. The guy who's like a smuggler, running things across the border. And so when you look at the Falcon, like, it's totally like, he's like, punch it. He's, he's like working a shifter, and he's, more kind of those controls. And that's what that feels like. So the pirate ship kind of really feeling like the pirate feel of how he controls it, I think was fine and nice. But let's get into the episode. Gorian Shard travels to Navarro to basically punish. His men got kicked by Mando heading back with their tail between their legs, so now they got the big boss. He's going to come there, and he just wants to basically make all of a sudden my mind just went blank. Karga. They want Karga to basically forfeit. They want to humiliate him. And, he kind of puts in the bluff, we are under the protection of the New Republic. And they're like, haha, you didn't become part of the New Republic, and we know that. And so he's trying to call Carson Teva, who, was originally set up to be basically like the police chief of the Rangers of the New Republic. And I had some issues with this episode. Not the issues that most other people had. They had issues with the pirates looking Muppety and all that. I thought they were great. I thought they were fun. But the issue is with how they showed the New Republic. Karga is like, I'll put in a request. I'm going to have to go to the New Republic right there and shove this paperwork through. And so he goes there and he's like, hey, we've got, pirates, and there's been some Imperial activity there, and I think there's a lot going on. And the guy's like, huh. And then a rehabilitated, Imperial goes, oh, but sir, look, they refused to join. I think they should be put back in line, and this will be a lesson to them that they should. Well, you've got a point there. And it was like, the New Republic, it is just such a joke how much they are trying to make this government that's only been around not even for 10 years, and it's already super bureaucratical. And I'm like, when you look at other things like the revolution in the United States, 10 years after the United States is over, we were not so bogged down with this. They were still, very much action and change and a lot going on. So to be the idea that it's just bogged down in such bureaucratic, it's just, they're trying to fast track. This is why it fails. And I don't think The Mandalorian is soon enough in the timeline to really start displaying that. There should at least be a win for a period. Even if you're going to have everything that happened, the First Order and all that, the New Republic needs to feel like a win that's struggling. We don't have the manpower, we're trying, we're this, that. I can send a fighter pilot, But what does Karga do? He goes out and he tells the Mandalorian. And he's able to do this because apparently R5 used to be his droid. So at some point, he crashed on Tatooine, lost R5, who was picked up at the Jawas, and then got off on some mission. That's got to be a comic somewhere now, right? It's got to be. But that's just kind of interesting that, oh yeah, R5 is an old friend of mine, and he's been spying on you for me. What's really funny is Mando doesn't just kill R5 right there, because that would be Mando's MO. He doesn't trust droids. This droid has backstabbed him. Put him out. That's just what I would expect. Mando Season 1 would have done that. All the way up till the end of Season 1. And I think that's when, after the stuff there with IG-11, when that kind of changed. Then Din is then pleading for them to go help. Bo-Katan assumes, she also puts in her thing, but it's really when Paz Vizsla steps up. And I really like that. There's a moment when he comes out and you don't know, is he going to be yes, let's do it? Or is no? And he starts out, he's very negative, he's named. So why should we do that? Because we're Mandalorians! And it's a very Viking feel to it. He's like, it's the right thing for our honor, or this or that. This man has fought for us. This is this. And it wasn't Karga, it was the Empire. The Empire was the one behind it. And the Empire now is behind this too. And so they all assume there. Now, when they show up, Karga's like, yes, we'll give you a big plot of land. It's great. You come, you kick these, but we're going to give you everything. Karga is like the ultimate real estate agent. Hey, you know, do this for me, this. When you need a house, I got a deal for you. Like, that's like all real estate agents. Like, he's got like this track of Navarro's a desert planet. It's like, oh yeah, I've got some acres out there in Arizona. You know, you can have those. I'm sure that you could cultivate the land. You're Mandalorians. You're used to a radiated planet. I'm sure you can make use of it. You know, it's kind of interesting there. And then we see all the people, like he evacuates with this people, but there's obviously still people in the cities. But it's always funny when they try to do this large scale thing, and they keep doing this where like the whole town came to the defense, and we see this big city, and then the whole town proves to be like 12 people, 12, 20 people, and it's like you have markets and stores and schools full of kids, all these buildings and stuff, and you're telling me this town is populated by 20 people? That's just like, it's Peppa Pig stuff doing there, you know. There's you know, Greedo's over there. He runs the pawn shop. He runs the mechanic shop. He's one of the school teachers. He's over, you know, just that kind of nonsense must be going on because there's just nobody in this city. And I get it. It's budget. It's Star Wars TV. It's budget, but they bring down his thing, and it's epic. Like everybody's like abandoning ship, and he's like, no, we can't lose. Very much like the Imperials. He's just like, no, and then he's going down on a blaze of glory. But his main guy, that got him into all this mess, he bails. And I think he is going to be a problem for the Skeleton Crew. I think he's going to be like their main villain. So that's why he's got to live and bail. Because we know it's going to have something to do with the pirates. And I really hope the Skeleton Crew is like, it's about all these kids, but I hope that they end up under the care of like Hondo. And it's like Hondo and the kids versus these other pirates that have taken over his empire or something like that. And just kind of having some fun with that. Then you have the ending of this. This was really good. The armor meets with Bo-Katan. She tells her, you saw the mythosaur. You bathed in the waters. Take your helmet off. What? First, you know, she like hesitates. She's like, if I do that, you're going to make me leave. I don't want to leave. I have found a new family. I need this. And she's like, do you respect my authority? And he says, yes. Then take the helmet off. So she does. Now she realizes it's not just a test. It's she legitimately wants her to, and so she takes it off. She brings her out in the front, and of course, the first one that has an issue is like super orthodox Paz Vizsla. He's like, she has removed her helmet. Like he was willing to die for this person a moment ago, and now he's like this, and she says, look, what we accomplished here today, it's great that we have this, and this is going to help solidify us. But if Mandalore is to reclaim its glory, if we were to retake the planet, we need all Mandalorians on board, of every walk of life. And so we need Bo-Katan. She walks both sides. Like this. Now, I half expected the armor to take her helmet off and have them just use this as a point where they abolish it. So now, no. They want Din to keep his helmet on. They don't want to have Pedro come in. So Din's got to keep his helmet on. And I don't think that they want to CGI the body and Favreau's head on Paz, because it's definitely as big as he is, it's a much buffer guy. But though Favreau is a giant guy, I just don't think he's a ripped guy. But they put him in there, and Mando, of course, the first, I will support her, this, that, and it's like, okay, they're gonna go, and then once again it's Paz saying okay, and so they're gonna go off on a quest. Now I kind of figured that this was going to take her to go get her previous people, but we knew that Christopher Lloyd was going to be in this, and I pretty much at this point, I already know what happens. I kind of figured, okay, we're going to have an episode where we get that, and then we're going to have an episode where they're going to go, they're going to get her people, and then Christopher Lloyd is going to be like some other clan, and then maybe they will go bring in Satine and maybe her family, and then they'll bring in Boba Fett. Because remember, Bo-Katan did not respect Boba Fett, but her working with the Mandalorian with Boba Fett, now it's about reuniting all Mandalorians, and I figured then we'd have the big battle at Mandalore that would end in a cliffhanger, and we'd have to wait a whole year for that. That was how I figured this show would go. That's not how it goes, but last thing, we come up on a ending clip. I'll try to get this out while this noisy truck is here, but we end on this clip where we see them finding out for himself, yes, Moff Gideon escaped, and whoever did it, they had some Beskar alloy. Now they make a point of saying that it's like an alloy. It's not pure Beskar, it's some modified Beskar, and that plays an important role. This is not what Din's people are using. This is different, and it was carelessly left there. But the idea, once again, that the New Republic isn't telling basically what's their Texas Rangers. These are X-Wing pilots that are going out and policing. There isn't a bulletin, hey, Moff Gideon's still on the loose. He broke out. Catch him at all costs. Nope. Sweep that under the rug. That never happened. The idea, this was an opportunity they could have used to say how Cara Dune died, if they wanted to do that, because she, I would assume, would have gone with that transport. I don't know why the Mandalorian and all of them did not foresee that transport. Why didn't Luke? Luke shows up. Oh, we got this bad Imperial. Luke's part of the rebellion. Why wouldn't he go and travel with? It just seems very convenient that. So I found that very frustrating. That not only was he in a position that could happen, but then he just let it happen. Okay, we're gonna stop it there. Next time I'm gonna be talking Guns for Hire, and then I probably will do that one by itself, because that one is gonna be worthy of its own one, because that is really the episode that broke the camel's back for this one. Anyways, hope everybody's having a good day. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a good day.